If you would have asked me before Tuesday what the best Batman movie was, without a doubt, without question, with no hesitation, my answer would have been The Dark Knight. But I walked into the advanced IMAX screening on Tuesday night with the special edition comic book, my Batman popcorn vessel as AMC likes to call it, and 3 hours later I walk out thinking to myself that number one spot isn't so solid anymore. When a sadistic killer leaves behind a trail of cryptic clues, Batman must venture into Gotham City's underworld. As the evidence begins to lead closer to home and the scale of the perpetrator's plans become clear, Batman must forge new relationships, unmask the culprit, and bring justice to the corruption and the abuse of power that has long plagued the city. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. In my reviews, I discuss what I liked, what I didn't like, and then my overall thoughts. So starting with what I liked about the movie, let's go ahead and discuss the elephant in the room, and that's how did Robert Pattinson do as Batman? The most appropriate response to that question is that after this weekend, he's definitely going to become a lot of people's new favorite Batman. Pattinson totally shines in this role. He's intimidating and vicious while at the same time easily being the smartest person in the room. This movie really plays up the detective aspect of the character in a way that's never been done before, and you totally buy into it. And for anybody that thought it was going to be hard to disassociate Pattinson from what he did in Twilight, all that goes out the window within the first 10 minutes of this movie. If that. I mean, this dude's presence when he walks in a room, like, the only thing to really compare it to is like when Darth Vader walks in a room. Somebody will try to be the tough guy in the room and try to question why Batman's there, and then Batman just turns and gives him a look and just shuts all that down. Overall, if you're a fan of the way Batman is portrayed in comics, you're gonna love what Pattinson gives you. Now moving on to the other characters in this movie though, I can easily say that there's not a weak link in this cast. When I tell you everybody is great, everybody is great. Colin Farrell, besides being unrecognizable as Penguin, just completely steals every scene he's in. Jeffrey Wright is great as James Gordon, and I think he's going to impress a lot of people. Paul Dano as the Riddler is completely amazing, and I'm so glad to see the character portrayed the way he was. But the standout though, besides Batman himself, is easily Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. She had multiple layers to her, you totally understand her motivation. The chemistry between Batman and Catwoman was probably the best I've ever seen on screen. And even though she's no match for Batman physically, she still showed she's more than capable when it comes to fighting. I'll get more into each character specifically in my spoiler review because I definitely want to talk more about them, but just know that each major character in this movie was fantastic. I'd even go as far as to say that this is the best acting in a comic book movie that I've ever seen. Another thing that I really liked was the cinematography. Gotham City not only looked great, but I love the effort that was put into showing that on such a big scale. The production design really makes you feel like this is a Gotham City like you've never seen before. I saw this movie in IMAX and there's just so many shots in this movie that you could pause and use as computer wallpaper. And some of the best shots in this movie were like artwork. You can print them out on a canvas or on a poster and hang them on a wall. Another thing I like was the score by Michael Giacchino. Now, it's not too often that I talk about the music in a movie, but the score to this film was just on another level. The Batman theme was dope, the Riddler theme was dope, and my favorite theme, though, easily was the Catwoman's theme. The slow, jazzy, classical type of sound, it just fits so perfectly with this iteration of the character. The very first time that I heard the Catwoman theme, what I envisioned in my head was this big ballroom where everybody's dressed up at this party, and then Bruce Wayne turns around and sees Selina Kyle at the top of the steps, and then she comes walking down all slow and seductive. Nothing like that happened in this movie. I'm just letting you know where my mind went. The point I'm making is that this is probably the best Batman score ever made. Now, action-wise, I think this movie does a really good job of quality over quantity. There's not a lot of action sequences in this movie, but every action scene that is there, mwah! And I also like how they don't make this Batman invincible or untouchable. When he's fighting in a group, he gets hit, he takes punches, he takes damage. Nothing significant because he's still a top tier fighter, but you can see that he's still a young Batman. He's not the fighter that we know he's going to grow into, and he still has a lot of stuff to learn and get better at. But probably the best thing about this movie though for me was the story. I love the detective aspect of the movie. I love the horror vibes that you get. This is like a psychological thriller that just happens to have Batman in it. I love how this movie takes elements from other movies like Zodiac and Seven and then mixes it with Batman comic storylines like Ego and Hush and The Long Halloween. All the ingredients used to make this movie just turned into something I had a great time watching. The only thing that I would say negative about this movie is that some people are definitely going to feel the 3-hour runtime. But that's not to say that there are things that could have been cut out. Just about everything in this movie linked to something else, and if you cut out something for time, you're going to end up missing a part of the story, which is going to affect the movie overall. But it wasn't a problem for me personally. I enjoyed every minute of it. But objectively speaking though, the less of a Batman fan you are, and the more you're on the spectrum of just being a casual fan, the more you're definitely going to feel that runtime. So in conclusion, the story was great, the acting was great, the music was great. Outside of a possible nitpick here and there's nothing that I would say is an outright negative about the movie. All that being said, I'd say this movie is Omega level. So that's my review of the Batman. If you've seen it already, what did you think? Leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts. I'm still going back and forth on if this movie is better than The Dark Knight, but I gotta figure it out pretty quick though, because I'm working on a video where I rank all the Batman movies from worst to best, and I still haven't figured out which one of these two is gonna take that top spot. Thanks for watching. If you like what you've seen, hit that thumbs up and click that subscribe button to see what's coming next.